Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, the voice of bodybuilding. I am your host, Sarah Parker, and today's voice is Aaron Clark, who has been on
Nice.
before. And of course, welcoming you back, my friend. It's really, really nice to do this because obviously, our first episode together, if anyone wants to listen, I will put the details in the description. But we actually spoke about a lot of your story as a competitor, didn't we?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it was. I'm trying to think of how long ago it was. I feel like I had just started, not just started, but I had started making the whiteboard videos not that long ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And even that in itself, Aaron, I feel like for the podcast guests, I'm always looking at people that are going to bring education and empowerment, but for the reasons that maybe people don't see on social media. So actually, I said to you about the reason I reached out to you again was because you did one of your chats, which wasn't a whiteboard one. And guys, if you haven't seen them, make sure you follow Aaron on Instagram. But you were talking about essentially when people put on Instagram or social media, I wouldn't advise that you run get your gear this high, but they've already got the physique outcome and they're saying, well, if I could turn back time, I wouldn't use that much, but then they wouldn't have that physique. And this is what we're dealing with, isn't it, in this era?
Yeah, well, I think we see that in everything, right? You see it in different sports and different in entertainment too. I think a prime example, and this is a lot there, but like let's say someone got into like the adult industry, right? And they hadn't built a whole career and they made all this money and they're driving their nice car. And they get on there and they're like, oh, I just am so filled with remorse. And you're like, I understand, but at the same time, you are living in the fruits of what you've done.
Yeah.
So to come on there and then denounce it is a little bit hypocritical to me, at least,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it adds to, you know, I feel like, Aaron, and this isn't to be, oversighting it, but there is a lot of delusion in the bodybuilding
Yeah.
space. And
So
again, I'm not trying to be, a dick about it, and this is why part of this new series, the Extreme series, and having you as my first guest of 2026 to talk about extreme steroid use, it's so, so important because we are dealt with, we're flicking through social media, we're looking at things and going, oh, I should run those PDs, I'm going to look like that. And all of this stuff attributes to people not actually understanding how these people actually live as well, aside from the steroid use, the genetics, the sporting background, all of these things. And I've spoken about this recently of if you're looking at someone and going, I want to be that person, you're never going to be that person because they are them. And then if
mhm.
you're, copycatting steroid cycles, etc., it can be a really slippy path, can't it?
Oh, very slippery. Yeah. Yeah, there's so much, and it's a pet peeve of mine when people look at somebody and you see these guys that are like, this guy, he looks like this, he's taking this, or you'll never get to this level without doing XYZ, whatever. And that's such a load of shit because I mean, I've met so many people, and sometimes it's true. Sometimes, right. Sometimes it's like, yeah, they did everything to get there. But I've also met people who are freaks.
Mm.
There's a lot of freaks out there. And so it's very subjective. And you can't take people that seriously, too. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of people that I know. Like, I know them, I've been around them, I've seen what they do, and then I see what they say. And these are people who have big platforms.
Yes.
And you just got to be careful taking everybody too seriously. We all know that most bodybuilders, let's say they're taking 500 megs a test, they're probably taking 750, right? Everybody shaves a little off the top to make it sound better,
Yeah,
or they add it to shock people, right?
for sure. Yeah.
Which is another thing going on now. So yeah, you gotta. It's it's entertainment. It's people talking, but it's just a lot of talking heads, and yeah, you got to be careful because if you take this stuff as real advice, you could really be, put yourself in a bad place. Absolutely.
For sure, for sure. This actually raises really nicely into one of the thought processes I wanted to float with you is we, of course, as people in the space, and I'm sure you'll agree, we would promote that you actually train regularly, eat right, and do the fundamentals of bodybuilding before you consider gear use in itself. Now, that when people listen to this, it's like, oh, well, that's fucking boring. I just want to get on the gear. No, we
Yeah,
see this. We see this. This is reality. And if you're listening and that's, your thought process, fine. Everyone has their own thought process. But I'm sure, aside from the freaks, you'll agree that actually to capitalize on gear use, we need to look at the fundamentals of bodybuilding being your normal lifestyle first.
yeah. More drugs doesn't equal more muscle if you're not doing the other things. I think the first whiteboard video I ever made was an example. I tried to make an example of that or a parallel of I had guys in an old steam locomotive, right? Like where you would shovel coal into the fire.
Yep.
And I was like, well, if you have one man, he can shovel coal so quickly, right? And we'll say like that one man is one compound that you're taking, right? And so he's shoveling into there and the train is moving so fast, the engine's running so hot. Now, you can, let's say we want to move a little faster, you bring a little more coal and you bring one more person, right? So now we've doubled our output, right? But some people just, they don't bring more coal, they just bring in five more people, right? So now they're running six things, but you're not really moving any faster because there's the same amount of coal, right? And so now you're paying wages to everybody. You're not moving any faster, as in you're having more sides, more long-term health implications, whatever it might be. But you can only go so quickly. And I think when I started, it's in my 20s, I couldn't get in my head that was like, no, you're going to get all the positive effects you're going to get from 200 milligrams. You don't taking 800 isn't going to just, shoot you forward any quicker. It's just going to cause more negatives. And yeah, I think that for me, that came with years of doing it wrong or learning the hard way and observing others doing the same. But yeah, all these things, your foundation is what matters. And these things complement that. But that's what you build first, just like the coal. You need more coal before you bring in more compounds. Otherwise, it's just a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I'd actually be interested to ask you. It came up on a pod the other day. One of the guests said about she doesn't actually feel that people should use steroids for recreational use. It should be more if you are competing and pursuing the competitive realms. And that's going to be, of course, an open dialogue because I'm sure it's in the States as well. There's a lot of people that do use recreational steroids. They use the gym a little bit, eat okay, and then they put gear in. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, before I comment, I don't know who that woman is, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not speaking on her at all, right?
No, 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 no.
My my take is like, well, who are you to say that,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
right? Just like if somebody wants to do cocaine on the weekend and they got their life together, who am I to tell you like you should never do that? Like
mm-hmm.
you know that there could be implications,
Yeah,
but you're an adult, right? And who is anybody to tell someone, oh, you shouldn't take gear unless you're going on stage? Because what is it to anybody really? Like, so is your use really that much more noble because you got a trophy? It's not. Like, that's all mental. And so bodybuilding is in the competitive realm and it's also just a personal thing. If somebody wants to take gear, if it's worth it to them, then go ahead. But I think that just like with any drug, I'm not really someone who says, oh, like this is evil or this is bad. It's like you should just know, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And what are the pros and cons? Like, what am I taking on risk wise by doing this? If I'm okay with that, I'm an adult, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
yeah, that's my thing.
I do actually like that you sort of put in there about recreational drug use as in outside of compounds and steroids because I've mentioned this several times. I feel like you sort of get into bodybuilding and think nobody would use recreational drugs, and I'm like, guys, that's
Oh,
quite an oversight because for
crazy.
sure. And I'm not sure how it is over there with you, but there is absolutely, and we don't always hear about it unless we know certain people in the space.
Right.
But there's a lot of deaths, hospital visits that
Yeah,
collide with high compounds and recreational drug use being added in, so party weekends, etc., and actually
yeah,
that ending, in that direction.
right.
Mm.
Well, I think it could be partying, and it could also be, and this is something I always caution people. It's like when you start taking gear, you've crossed a barrier. So
Yes.
like I'm willing to put these things in my body to attain this. Now there are other lines that you're going to come up to that are easy to cross without really, they kind of become blurred because if I'm taking this to look like this and these things I'm adding, like, oh, now I can't sleep. Oh,
Hmm.
now I have anxiety, right? Now my mental health is suffering. So, okay, well, then I'll just take this for that, right? And before you know it, you're taking the kitchen sink of drugs. And yeah, some people like to party too, but I think a lot of people I've met in bodybuilding are just your typical extreme people, right? Like they like to go hard, they like to train hard. They're not afraid of taking risks, right? They're taking gear, they're pushing, and they like to party too.
Hmm.
And like, hey, live it up. But yeah, you got it. Like I said before, you just have to know, like, if I'm taking this, like, I should be really careful mixing this, right?
Yeah, even like baseline, something that I always remember from when I became assisted, as it were, was my coach said to me, if you do, because I used to rave quite a lot and stuff as well alongside bodybuilding, and actually it worked quite well in tandem. But he would always say, don't use things like Clen, yohimbine stimulants around using recreational drugs because that can, of course, send your heart rate up and various other things and the implications off the back of that. And I was like, oh, I never sort of initially I didn't really think about it. And actually, as coaches, unless we've got a close relationship with our clients and they'd say, I'm going raving or whatever, this
Right.
this could happen. And this is why I talk about these things, Aaron, because you'd be listening to a podcast, you wouldn't maybe even correlate those things, would you?
Not unless you're in that world,
Yeah.
right? I would because I've been in it for so long. I've been to all the after parties. I see what everybody does. I know. Uh, but yeah, like you said, a lot of people get into this and it's like, oh, these people on the straight and narrow, like living like a monk. And it's like, no, not really. Like, yeah, they're dedicated and they live a lot of life of a lot of self-denial, but they also a lot of them live pretty hedonistic at times too. And it is what it is, yin and yang, right? People got to find some, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like, as well, like you say, with the personality traits, we can often deem that bodybuilders are like addictive personalities. We go extreme, like you say. And I believe actually, probably, people outside of bodybuilding, everyone has their sort of vices or addictions or
Oh,
things that they pursue because it's part of, I feel, the human brain. Do you
yeah.
feel like with the PED use and, if as you go assisted and you start to see the rewards and the results, etc., from the physique, that actually that goes into an addictive path of then not being able to come off cycle. Would you say that's something you've encountered?
I think it's difficult. I mean, I think that people have to, and even if you get into it and you're like, this is temporary, right? You build something you're proud of, and then it's like taken away from you, right?
Hmm.
That's a difficult thing to really, it depends on how much you build your identity around it.
Yes.
That's the big takeaway. And if you build your identity off of that contest physique, then yeah, you're setting yourself up to really go through it because you can't maintain that. You can maintain a lean physique that looks great, but not that. And that's okay. But I think, especially now with social media, because people want to look this way and post all the time, right? And some people can do it more than others. Some people can stay pretty lean and look pretty good.
Hmm.
But like I can stay lean so I can look good, but I'm not going to be in contest shape. No, nowhere near it. People say that. People are like, oh, you're like 4 weeks out. I'm like, not even close, right?
Yes.
Not even close. Yeah, I'm like 12 weeks maybe, right?
I'm so
Um,
glad you said that.
yeah. So yeah, yeah, it's you just got to be realistic with yourself. But I think it is hard. I think that, and it depends on the person. It's a sad reality of bodybuilding because really, if we were to really break it down, bodybuilding is kind of an eating disorder, right? In a controlled sense. Like it's it's partaking in like a disorder like, routine behavior as a means to an end.
Yeah.
And if you can't let go, then that's you're becoming that disorder, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I've seen it happen to a lot of people. Um, I've been around it my whole life, eating disorders. I don't know if did I talk about that before?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's people need to learn to find that balance. And I think that part of that too is like you're talking about partying and everything. Some people, I think they restrict so much,
Yes.
right? Their diet is just so bland, so boring, so that they may, and this is another side of it, but it's also like an eating disorder. Maybe when they stop dieting, they just like they just because it's not realistic. And you have to find a balance as you're going through this, right? Of like, you can't just lock yourself in a room and eat codfish and, Brussels sprouts. Like you need to be dedicated,
Yeah.
but it's compounding effort over a timeline, and you don't have to do that to yourself.
Mm.
And it's going to be a little bit different where everybody is on that
Spectrum.
spectrum.
Mm.
But yeah, it's something to definitely be aware of that I see happen to people.
Mm.
It's scary. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I remember when you mentioned it before about your sister with the eating disorder, and I guess that gives you I guess, and to frame this in the right way, seeing that, did that sort of help you not go down that rabbit hole yourself as a bodybuilder because you could maybe actualize if you were going in that direction yourself? Does that make
So
sense?
I got into bodybuilding because I had eating disorders.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
bodybuilding was my way of taking my eating disorders and kind of being like, these are going to kill me. How can I somehow, if I don't have the strength to like get rid of these demons, how can I get them to play for my team? Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's why I started bodybuilding. It wasn't because I wanted to be an Olympian or win a show. It was my attempt to try to like control and put myself out of this thing. So I'm just acutely aware of like how intertwined they are from my own experience, from watching, it take my sister's life to watch, just my whole since I was a teenager. So yeah, I mean, I can't say that it didn't do that to me, but I can say that I've seen it from both ends, right?
Mm.
And so I'm very acutely aware when I see that behavior in other people, right? And the things they say, and I'm like, right, yeah.
Yeah, you can see
Like
it.
with any addiction or something, like if you've been there, you can see it in other people, right?
Yeah.
So in this world, I see that just kind of being reflected in a lot of, yeah.
Mm. It's hard sometimes, isn't it, when you're so acutely aware of things that I guess you're almost like in the Matrix, so you can see things before they're happening, and it's like, oh, and people sort of label it as red flags, don't they? If you're coaching and you're mixing with people and you see these things, it's like, is that going down that direction? I really like how you've actually said that about your own journey because I do see people in the space say people with food disorders shouldn't get into bodybuilding, X, Y, Z, and that upsets me because I've had multiple people on the podcast, psychiatrists, people like yourself that have actually, had a positive effect from bodybuilding from a food disorder background, and actually people have deemed that it's, saved their life from a purpose standpoint and given them something to funnel their self into in a positive way. And I really hate it when I see it, Aaron.
Well, I think that there's two sides to it, right?
Yeah.
Like I would absolutely tell people to use caution if you struggle with that. but I think that a lot of times we look at things in life and it's a conundrum of what is the lesser of evils,
Yeah.
right? And sure, maybe there's health risks and possible implications in bodybuilding, but if you're killing yourself with eating disorders
Mm.
and you need to give yourself like a physical purpose to like give yourself nourishment, to take care of your body, to be proud of your physique, right? Then it could be a really positive thing, right? So it depends on the angle that you're looking at it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, and where that person is, everybody's different. But I think you're right. I think it can be positive, or it could be negative, and it's not black and white.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is, I feel like this is where, these blanket statements, like we've touched on a few already, where it's like you see this reel or this post, X shouldn't do X or Y is X do it. And it's harmful. It is harmful because there could be people that actually it's like I say, it's changed their life, it's saved their life, as it were. I often label it myself as if you're, coming into bodybuilding and you feel it saved your life, actually it's been a funnel for you to save your own life, hasn't it, really?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and this is the thing with when we talk about, steroid use, there is as well, of course, the thought process to the psychological changes and the adaptations that occur when you do use PDs. Another mission of mine with the podcast to talk about these things, because again, not you'd think loads of people talk about it, but actually from an educational standpoint, you talk about things yourself and there is people in the space, but it's not as spoken about as I think people believe, if you know what I mean.
What do you mean when you say that?
So,
Like,
like, oh, the side effects are gyno, your voice changes, maybe with females you get hair growth, etc.
yeah,
Psychological changes and things that can happen. I feel
yeah.
like some of that's still a bit taboo and it's a bit of an elephant in the room.
You're right. I think that, yeah, I mean, they affect you.
Yeah.
Why, when I tell people, like, look, you know, and any girl will tell you, like, that they feel different at a certain time of month, right? Of course, because your hormones change. And that's a natural occurring thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's God intended. Like, that's hormones that are supposed to be in your body. So
Mm.
all these people blasting these hormones would be like, oh, it really doesn't affect me. I'm like, how fucking stupid are you?
Yeah.
Like, of course it does. Of course it does. And you know, these people that, yeah, the guys taking turn like, oh, it doesn't really affect me like that. Like, I can see it in your eyes right now. Like, it's it's so silly. Yeah, it's so silly. Um, and you got to be aware of it, and you got to be aware of where your baseline is as a person too.
Yes.
Like, somebody who is violent and is prone to outbursts, right, and lashing out at others, they should be really careful with what they take,
Yeah.
right? And if you're not, like, I'm a pretty introverted person who's very slow to like have a outburst, right? So it still affects me,
Mm.
but it's more internal,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I become like closed off. And
Yeah.
people can tell. I remember I would always be told, like, oh, what's different, right? Yeah.
Mm.
You think you can, people can't tell, they can tell. Um, but I've had friends, yeah, that ended up locked up and stuff because they were taking stuff and, they had some type of minor confrontation and they responded at a 10 when they should have responded at a 3, right? And it was very likely because they were taking steroids.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, it's self-awareness, requires self-awareness, and it requires being honest. And also, a lot of people will say, hey, if I start acting weird, let me know. And then you'll say, like, hey, you're acting weird. And they're like, fuck you, I'm not acting right. So no, you need to be aware of it, and you also need to be open to other people telling you that you're acting, you know,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
a little out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I feel like absolutely this could lead into a conversation around post cycle. I remember the first time I titrated my dose of anabolics up. So I run set exposures, as it were, per year. So I do 8 week cycles. And I
Right.
remember I'd utilize Masteron alongside my baseline. And I came off cycle. And a few days after, I was like, I feel like and no joke, Aaron, I felt depressed. Like I
Yeah.
felt, and the way
Yeah.
I labeled it was, and I spoke about it on Instagram, etc., in the pod, was like my superpower had been removed, and
Yeah.
I hadn't felt it in that way before, and I was like, I need to talk about this because the only thing that has changed was, of course, the anabolics coming out. I'd love to hear sort of your thoughts on that when you've come off cycle, how that feels for you, because of course it's going to be different male to female as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that steroids are drugs, right? And all drugs, even caffeine, if you drink coffee every day and then you stop, guess what? You're going to feel like you don't have the power anymore, right?
Yeah,
So
I know that one.
just how things work. Like if you take something that elevates you to here and you stop it, people seem to think with steroids that they're going to take steroids and they're going to level up here and then they'll stay there and then they'll take them again and they'll keep going up. It doesn't work that way. Nothing works that way. Nothing works that way. You take a drug, you're here. When you stop taking the drug, you go back normal. Sometimes lower, right? That's the crazy part. And you have to be realistic with those expectations. And yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I think that it is going to vary person to person. Some people are really prone to depression,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, I mean, I've dealt with that. It's just like after a show, right? You're riding this high of like I have this goal, it's right in front of me, boom, right? I'm on all this stuff. I do the show. Maybe it turned out how you wanted, maybe it didn't, and then it's just gone.
Yeah.
You're not on this stuff anymore. You don't have that goal right in front of you, and it's very um, you can just kind of get lost in this. Where am I now, right? So I think that it's really important to have different goals that and different hobbies and things that you enjoy in your day. And I think that that is like so important in bodybuilding. And I said it sometimes when people are like, no, fuck that shit. I'm all into bodybuilding. Like, who's a dedication? Like, no. You can be all in the bodybuilding. That doesn't mean you can't have creative outlets and other things that excite you
Yeah.
because bodybuilding is going to this, like you're saying, like you're going to be kind of let down. You're going to feel, sometimes you'll feel powerful. Sometimes you'll feel like the wind is gone from your sails. And if you don't have anywhere else to get that dopamine or that type of fulfillment from, you're going to be really lost. And it's obviously it's going to be different for everybody,
Mm.
but I see some people and like their whole identity is just training.
Mm.
And it's cool, like that's great. I'm glad you like it, right? And it could be much worse, right? Like it's a good thing, but there's seasons to it, like you're saying. And some of these seasons are going to feel really good, and some seasons, like you come off or you get an injury, right? That's really depressing. You go from squatting 500 pounds to reps and to not being able to walk, right?
Yes. Yep.
That's humbling,
It is.
incredibly humbling.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Right? You
Mm.
got to have other things that make you happy. I think it's inevitable. Like you said, we're going to have ups and downs, crashes and stuff, but you got to have something else that that kind of fills you
Mm.
with some type of fulfillment. Yeah.
And even the bodybuilding itself, I'm sure you know people that, it's like bodybuilding is everything, but they don't actually have that many good things to say about it. So this is obviously the other end of the spectrum, where it's like, I fucking hate training, I hate being
Yeah.
in deficit, I'm hungry, all of these things. Fine, like it's brutal, it's rough when you're going through a prep, you're at the tail end and it is hard.
Mhm.
However, you can get off on that. I'm sure you'll agree. Like you
Oh
act.
yeah.
It's like, Well, I've got a new striation today, so I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, right.
And it's that, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it's another addiction, right? It's like a high. But you can apply that same, it's very fulfilling to, like you said, oh, I got that new striation, right? It's very fulfilling to put devote yourself to a thing and to reap to see it moving the needle forward, right?
Mm.
So like you can do that in other things too, right? And it doesn't have to take away from your training, but it is important because nothing lasts forever.
Mm.
And you should be grateful that your body allows you to do this and grateful for the opportunity to be able to do it. I mean, it's a privilege,
Oh,
but anything can happen, right? I've seen it happen where some guys, like, they will just be, it'll be their whole thing, and they'll tear a pec or something, and then they'll be shooting heroin in a few months.
yes. And it does happen, guys, if you're listening.
It's because that was their everything, and it's gone now, or it feels gone, right? It feels gone. And it's like, I need comfort. I need something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel
Here.
like actually, a completely different sort of perspective, but something I wanted to ask you about, because you spoke about injuries, is
Mhm.
the rise in peptides. And we're seeing that a lot. And I actually wanted to ask you, do you feel like there's going to be an element of, it's almost like peptides are on the peripheral so much more now, and it's like, are people going to start utilizing them more than anabolics and steroids? What are your thought processes on the peptides?
I think the barrier for entry is lower.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that they don't have as many straightforward implications as running cycles, right? Also, it's a legal gray area, so you can buy them. That's a big one, a
Yeah.
huge one for people. And I think that they're going to be so huge, and they are huge because, look, everybody wants to look better, but not everybody's going to be a pro bodybuilder, nor do they want to do that, right? They don't want to give that type of dedication and energy and resources to that to do that. But maybe they're pre-diabetic and overweight and they can't stop eating.
Mm.
Wow, there's a peptide now that will turn that around for me, which is incredible. And I know a lot of people have mixed emotions about that, but it's almost like it's turning someone's life around,
For
right?
sure.
And it's just like, are you saying when someone overdoses, we shouldn't give them Narcan, right? Like, and I know that's an extreme example, but people are eating themselves to death. If you could give them a shot,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they'll turn it around, they would have never done that otherwise, right? They wouldn't. And the recovery stuff is awesome. It's super necessary because after years of steroid use, your muscles are strong and your tendons are like
Yeah.
weak. So yeah, I think it's cool. I think that, just like with anything, I think there's a lot of peptides. There's like some all-star players, and there's some that it's like, right?
I like that.
Uh, or like maybe on paper they sound really good, but actual implication is like, right?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like you say as well with, when you do go down the route of being assisted, and like I say with the superpower being removed, part of that was training was like I'm putting plates on Aaron, and I'm thinking I'm a small female, right? So I'm like, whoa, what has happened over this cycle, and it kicked in pretty quick. And actually, something that I always remember is the tendons, the ligaments. Yeah, for sure. In your mind and your ability, you're on cycle, and suddenly, it's like I'm putting more than biscuits on here. I'm putting actual plates on. This
Yeah,
feels great. There is, of course, and you can run growth hormone peptides alongside what you're doing with anabolics. However, it's that can be a huge incremental jump over time, over a training block, and the injury risk is so much higher. But again, psychologically, you're like, I'm a fucking superhuman, right? Like it's reality, isn't it?
yeah. I always make the example, if you took, a turbocharged V10 or something, and you put it in a Toyota Camry, right, with its stock wheels, and floored it, you would destroy the car,
For sure.
right? And that's what people do with steroids. It's like just because you have that assistance and you can go that fast, that lift that heavy, the rest of your body is not ready.
Absolutely.
And it takes time.
Mm.
Just like with the example before with the coal, it's like your body can really should only progress so quickly. And you can only try to beat the system so much before it bites you in the ass. Like
Mm.
yeah.
Mm. It's those gateways as well, isn't it? It's like, because I always, when I speak about PDs, ideally we're looking at potentially introducing one compound at a time, right? So rather than just bringing in a massive stack, particularly if you're monitoring sides, etc., right? And how you are on different compounds. Now, of course, sometimes we have to learn from experience with these things, but if you're able to utilize a compound, and then if you are going to go to that gateway of the next PED that you're going to add, maybe you would, have a journey with it, as you say, have time with it. Would you now, looking back, is there been times where you've added multiple compounds and actually on reflection you maybe look at one at a time?
Yeah, of course. But I was 21. Nobody was going to tell me anything.
Give
They
it to me.
tried. They tried. And I was like, yeah. So yeah. Um, and that's another thing I have to remember because I can give people advice and people tried to, well, I didn't get as much advice as people do get now.
Yes.
Of course not. But I think that when you're young, there's just this voice in your head that's like, these people are pussies, they're being conservative, they don't understand. Like, I really want to do this. Like, and so I got to learn the hard way. And I I'm so glad that some of the guys I work with, that I coach, they came to me and like they listened to what I say because I tell you what, I was a nightmare. I wouldn't listen to anybody. I wouldn't listen to anybody. And like I did good, and that's the problem is I did good.
Yeah.
And so it just further perpetuated me being a bonehead and me being like, nah, I got it. And so I had to learn things the hard way.
Mm,
And yeah, yeah,
mm.
absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
can't have the parallels, can you? Where you go back and go, well, if I only used one compound at a time, I would I have still got the same result? Because it's so true, you
You
know.
don't know. I don't know. And I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I regret that. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, look, I was a dumb fucking 21-year-old, right? Like, and I did what I did.
Yeah.
And unfortunate that nothing happened to me. And I say that like I was doing some outrageous. I think it was pretty run of the mill. Like I don't think I was doing things probably less than a lot of people, but like could I have done that with less?
Mm.
Probably, but I don't know, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I can't go back and redo it, right? So it is what it is.
yeah,
Uh,
sure.
so I had my gyno cut out really early.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, when I was 20. I got gyno from a pro hormone, actually. There used to be pro hormones that were legal. And I knew I wanted to take gear because I was going to go for it. So I went in and got it cut out before. Yeah,
How was that?
it's
Pain?
a fun, it's it's a funny story because I it's more expensive now. In the United States, it's probably like $10,000.
Yeah, it's
Right?
expensive.
It's expensive because they're not giving you boobs, they're your
Taking your
little
boobs.
taking your little baby tits. Yeah. And I so I went to a few places trying to kind of like tell them like, oh, puberty and this, like kind of sell them a story. I used to smoke pot, whatever. And so I go to this one guy and he looks at it and I'm like telling him, he just stops me right away. He's like, I have good news and I have bad news. He's like, the, the bad news is insurance will not touch this. He tells me, he's like, the good news is I will treat it like a wart. I'll cut one cut out, $400, second side, 50% off. And he's like, $600. I'll do the whole thing. I have no idea why he did that. if he hadn't done that before, I don't know. But I was like, sounds good, right? And he did the surgery in his office. I was awake for it, and he did a good job. And yeah, I asked him afterwards, I was like, how long do I need to not train for? Because online it said 4 to 6 weeks. And I didn't like that answer, right? So I was asking him, I was like, he said, I don't care. It's internal stitching. You go back whenever you want.
Stop.
That's what he told me. So I I took 1 week off, and then I was like, oh, I feel so small. So I went and I did chest, of course, first things I did. And I mean, I was like, I'm getting this most stupid pump I've ever gotten. Of course, because of the trauma, like it was filling with blood. But I just went and got him drained, and it was fine. It worked out. It worked out. And the funniest part of it was, he gave me this killer deal. So years later, an ex-girlfriend of mine wanted to get boobs. And my mom was like, oh, you should go to the guy that did Aaron's nipples. And she had sent her whole sorority there. Like 10 women had gone because of me there. Yeah, all these people, I should send all these people I knew there. So funny.
You could have
But
made that up.
what?
You could have made that up.
No, it's so silly. But whenever I say that, people are like, who's the guy? I want to go. And I'm like, he's not giving you $600 again.
Yeah.
I don't even know it was like a fluke, a glitch in the matrix, but it worked out for me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a relevant point where you said actually getting the tissue removed early on because you knew you wanted to
Yeah.
proceed with it. I feel like that's certainly
Really
something.
nip it in the bud, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there's two sides to it from the competitive versus the lifestyle, as it were, as to how important it might be to you. But from a competitive standpoint, I believe it is something that guys will need to think about if they have got, the signs are going on.
Yeah. I mean, some people don't seem to get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Power to them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's like luck of the draw, and with effects and side effects in itself, that's absolutely something we could talk a little bit more about. Now, obviously, we spoke little bit about the mental health side of things. I mean, we could talk for hours about that, but of course, talking about some of the effects that we can actually see visibly against as well, and this is something I do come across, people that don't really get bloods and they don't notice any effects, but actually, of course, there's the organ health, as it were, and picking up on that, but visible effects from a male standpoint, and this is what I think about myself. So we can do exposures, we can use anabolics, and potentially we don't notice any of these visible side effects. So it's like, brilliant, cool, okay, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep using these anabolics. But from your experience and your thought process, it can be, and this is what I try and talk about, it could be the 10th exposure, right? Where actually you go, I'm noticing some different effects here that I didn't notice on cycle number one. Is this something you've noticed yourself?
I think that you see yourself every day. So it's not
Hmm.
like you're gonna wake up one day and your face and things are gonna look drastically different. But
Yeah.
I would guarantee you that I don't want to say guarantee, but pretty sure, if 5 years down the road you took you now versus back then, you'd be like, oh, huh,
That's
look at
nice.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's gradual. And I think that anything that's gradual like that, especially if you're trying to tell yourself like, nah, I'm okay, I'm good, right?
Yeah.
That's fine, nothing's happening. You don't really notice it as much as maybe it's happening.
Have you always done blood work yourself? Is that something you still do now? What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
just go to like a lab core and get it ordered, right? If you go to a GP doctor, they'll be like, right? Like, so yeah, yeah. But that's typically what I have people do. Just go to I'll tell them what panels to run.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
get it done.
Talking
Typically,
about GPs, have you had experience where you've gone to the GP or a medical practitioner for whatever it may be over your span of using steroids? Do you find that they can be a bit judgmental or a bit funny with you? Have you had any of that?
Of course, and as they should be, honestly.
Yeah,
Like I think that anybody who comes in there living a life that they're taking a health risk, you can't be like, that's crazy that they're being that way to me. Like, no, no, no. Like their job is to try to keep you within the low risk category
good
at the
point.
doc,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So you are not in that area. So of course they're going to be like, what are you doing? Right. Um, so I think it's very silly to be like, they're so judgmental. Like, no, like that's the doctor. Like they're supposed to try to minimize your health risks. And
mm.
sure, maybe they're overweight, and so we could, what a hypocrite. Like that's their job. That's what you're going there. So I understand it.
Mm, mm. Yeah. I've never had
That's
it framed like that before. I like that. Mm,
Well, I think a lot of it's one of those silly things in bodybuilding where people are really hypocritical. It's like just because you work out or blah blah blah, it's like you're also in a high risk category of somebody who smokes cigarettes and doesn't work out, or right. Like sure, it's different and you have knowledge and you have all the right. Like I understand, but as a doctor looking at you, you'd be like, oh, this isn't good, right?
mm.
Well, if somebody who, like a guy from the Olympia walked into the doctor, they're going to be like, what the fuck is going on right now, right?
Who is this?
Yeah, as they should be. Like it's not normal looking, so they should be like, well, what are you doing? You need to stop right now.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really in their scope of practice either, is it? So it's probably a
No,
little bit of a because they're not going to know a load of stuff about steroids, are they?
no, no, unless you go to someone who does. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I like that take on it. Now I've got some listener questions which we'll go through, which was super cool to get actually because it's always interesting to see what people ask when I do a story. So we might have touched on it some of it already. So the first one, if you could rewrite your past cycles, what would they look like, same or not, and why? So again, it's hard to sort of answer that, isn't it? Because would you be where you are with your physique if you didn't?
Well, I think here's some things that I've learned. Like most drugs have uh, the ceiling for diminishing return is lower than you think,
Nice.
right? Also, I don't believe in orals off season. Like it's one thing if it's a female who's taking like 10 milligrams of Anavar or something off season, that's different. But I mean, like guys blasting 100 megs of Anadrol and all this stuff, like it's so unnecessary. Like save your orals for prep, minimize the damage to your organs and everything. Like, um, and your appetite too. That would destroy my appetite. I
Mm,
think, yeah, it just dose wise, realizing that I didn't need to take more. I could have probably gotten away with less. And I think over time I learned what they didn't agree with me, right?
yeah.
You know, they had more cons than pros. And everyone's a little different. Like I've seen some, like, so just an example, right? Some guys take a lot of nandrolone and they go great on it. Some guys take nandrolone and they get really depressed and they get bad erectile dysfunction and like, it's like they're fucked.
Yeah.
So it varies. And what one person works really good for one person might not be, as you said that in the beginning, like mirroring cycles you see. You can take that information and like kind of apply it to yourself, but there's a little bit of navigating to do.
Mm,
Uh, I think one mistake I really made is, and to be fair, this is when I was just being a fool and I was doing all kinds of drugs and stuff. But I would, in order to try to make up for me not eating and stuff, I would use insulin sloppily,
okay. Yeah.
and that's a big no-no.
Mm,
Don't do that. Insulin can be a great tool, but you have to be really precise and careful about like what you're eating when it's active and right.
yeah. Yeah. I remember I only used insulin for a very short space of time, but when I went like a hypo territory, fuck me, Aaron. I thought I was gonna die. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
whoa. I'm sure you've had experiences yourself mentioning it there. It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that I tell people just be prepared.
Yeah, yeah.
Only going to be a problem if you're unprepared. Like keep a soda in your bag,
That's what I had
right?
to do. Yeah.
Because like if you're ready and you have, you know, if something goes south, like you're ready, nothing's going to happen to you.
Just
But yeah, don't be dumb, right? Because it could fuck you up if you get overconfident.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's that quick remedy. It's like
too
and
much.
like I need a soda, and then I was like, okay, I'm alive again. Whew.
But yeah,
Yeah, it was just, and it's just that nutrition timing. Like I left it a little bit too long, and it's so easily done until, and again, like you've said throughout this episode, until you experience certain things, how do you know? Like people can tell you, right? And it's like, oh, it's okay. I just got to drive here, and I'll eat my meal in an hour, and then you're like, okay, now I understand why I need to do that, and time nutrition. So all learning. Now you mentioned Anavar. The second question is more female specific, so I don't know how much you would know about this, but I'll shoot it over anyway. Long-term cycles with Anavar in women, so 12 to 16 weeks, even on lower doses such as 2.5 meg. So I obviously
2.5
mentioned,
megs a day.
yeah,
Okay.
which is obviously the lowest of the
Yeah.
dosages.
What are the long-term effects? She's asking.
So she's just put long-term cycles with Anavar, 12 to 16 weeks, even on lower doses. So she hasn't actually asked. I'm guessing she's saying, would you approve that? Now, obviously, we're not looking to, recommend cycles as it were,
Okay.
and that's not what we're here to do. But is that something that you would, consider as a something that people might do, I guess?
I I think that, and this is my opinion, I think that if you're concerned with viralization, right? Like if you stay under 10, you're you're probably okay. And it depends on how long term it is, right? All drugs affect you long term. If you're 5 and under, probably not much. And at that dose, it's not very liver toxic either. Not really much going on. It's so it could give you a little boost. I don't think there's really there's nothing where I'd be like, oh no, if you do that, this is gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I feel like it's quite a good question in regards to actually some people don't believe that you could actually run it that low to potentially, and this is again a tool that we can use, and you can titrate up, right? So if you started on the 2.5, you've got a runway for titration up rather than, well, I'll go on the higher dose. Where do you go? So that's a relevant point as well for what we're talking about.
I think, and this is one thing I've learned, I would always rather choose compounds that I can take for a longer period of time so I can make gains like slow, right? Because like you said, when you stop, if your cycles are huge and toxic and like just like you're bombing your body, you can't continue, right? You're gonna have to come off. And then so I would always rather take less and choose compounds that are not poisoning me, right? So I can just slowly time it up. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a runway of progression, isn't it? Runway of progression. So, also, what are the most extreme steroid cycles you have had a client come to you on?
You know, I'm thinking of one maybe, but the majority of people that have come to me are actually on the other end. Like they're concerned for their health.
Mm,
And I'm like, I'm proud of you.
love
Because when I was in the 20s, I was like, fuck it, I'll deal with it later, Like, it'll be all right.
all is well.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm trying to remember, but I remember one guy, I told him to take probably like pretty standard cycle, like maybe 600 megs a test and like 400 or 500 primo with like 300 nandrolone or something like a typical off season. And he was taking like 6 different compounds, all close to a gram, like, yeah, I don't know. he couldn't sleep. He couldn't sleep. He was having like issues with kind of like psychotic breaks, and yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, where do we go from there?
Yeah, and then I think he started using opioids and stuff like to try to like calm his stuff down. And yeah, I mean, it's just that's the whole like,
Band-Aid.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for
no
sure.
bueno.
Band-aiding things to get, yeah, but I need the PEDs, but I don't sleep. I can't have sex. I can't. All of those things that start happening.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we've spoken about mental health changes. Have there been any stigmas or kickback from those close to you since pushing steroids and your gear use? So have you had people around you when you went assisted? Obviously, you've already expressed that you were like, I'm going all in, I'm doing this thing. Did you have any difficult conversations or conflict in your sort of close circle with using steroids? No,
Not
no,
really. No, I
nice.
think I think that, but like I said before, I think that other people knew that I was not doing well before, you know. Uh, and like I mentioned before, it's like the lesser of evils, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important. That's an important. When I say no, like that's an important
Mm.
piece to add to it. Yeah,
Yeah. I feel like people around you, like you say, are going to be thinking, well, that's a better route, quote unquote, than you were
yeah,
going down. So yeah, trying to support you in any way they can with your decisions, I guess.
right. Yeah, I'm very fortunate in that regard. I mean, I was also out of my friend group in the gym. I was the last person to take steroids.
Go to the dark side.
What? Yeah,
Dark,
they were
dark.
days of for me. So yeah,
They're already doing it. And one more question is okay. So would you say that your own PD use from being natural previously, and I don't know if you'd be able to remember this or how that felt, but would you say it contributed to any body dysmorphia being more prevalent as to chasing that dragon more because you'd gone into the assisted realm
I can't really say that because I got into it
quite
with
early?
crippling,
Okay, yeah.
body dysmorphia,
Yeah.
like willing to die for it type of body dysmorphia, right?
Mm.
So I can't say for me, I can't say yes. Could it? Absolutely. Sure, of course. Because it unlocks a new you. And that could be physical, it could be mental, it could even be like, I like who I am more when I'm taking this.
Absolutely.
And which I mean, I've struggled with a lot of different drugs and things, right? It's like, I like who I am when I take this. I don't like who I am normally, right? So I think that that has to do with where are you like in your life, like how are you doing, right, before you start doing this stuff. But yeah, for me personally, no. Yeah,
Mm. I guess a good way to wrap it up with that little bit of insight you've given there would be take it to now. How would you say you are in regards to your own physique and, reflecting on the journey you have had? Obviously, guys, if you're listening and you're not aware of Aaron, have a look at his Instagram, etc., and how far you have gone in the sport. How would you say you're feeling now with where you're at and where you're going?
i think um I think the hard part is like I push so hard,
Yeah,
I train so hard, and I train so heavy, and so now you pay to play. I can still train, but like I've had a lot of little injuries that keep it so that I can't, I see the old videos of me just throwing weight around and I'm like, damn. And I know like if you try to do that now, then you wouldn't be able to continue training, right? And so like, yeah, that kind of sucks. But that's just life. Like, and I'm grateful to still be healthy and able to train. And I think you got to look at it and you got to rewind and be like, to be honest, I deserve worse, right? Like that's the truth. I mean, I think I'm doing pretty good if I think about all the dumb shit I did. So I think, yeah, um, we none of us are satisfied, right? But yeah, you just got to be, like I said, grateful to have a body that you can, you can keep training and you can keep doing it, whether you're going for the stage or not. And yeah, I mean, that's life. You just got to be realistic. Like you're going to get older and you can't expect to continue doing the things you did when you were 23, right? That's just, you can try, but then you won't be able to train for much longer. So
How
I
old are
think
you now?
37.
37. And
So
training wise at the moment, do you do like set amount per week or what's your
I'll train 6 days a week.
yeah.
Yeah. I still train kind of the same. I just don't, you know, I'm just more careful. I mean, I could read you a long list of injuries I've had, torn a lot of things. Um, but I was really strong, and when you're really strong and you're a young dude, like it feels good to be like that guy, right?
Absolutely.
And I'll say like, man, if I could go back and not do that, but like, just like I said earlier, it's like I was gonna do it. Like,
Fun.
yeah, I was gonna do it. It's no one was gonna tell me anything, so it is what it is.
I love that. I love that. Try and be if you're listening, guys, be present with your young gains and what you're doing when you're, having it large. It's like at that
Yeah,
time. Live like
yeah,
a superhero.
yeah. It's just, yeah, it's a marathon, and you see the guys like a Jay Cutler and how he trained, right? He trained heavy enough,
Yeah.
but he didn't train like some other people, and he looks great now.
It's a big difference with some of the people at his age now, for sure.
Who were just, yanking, throwing weight around, right? Like that, it'll fuck you up. I don't care how big and strong you are. Like you're a human, whether you want to admit it or not. And, you know, there's a lot of either nerves and discs and things. Like it doesn't matter how strong you are. You'll wear that shit out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that you gave the Jay Cutler example because it's something that I've thought about when you do comparisons, like, things that you think about when you watch documentaries and stuff, like Jay Cutler compared to Ronnie Coleman, right? Like there's, huge disparities there. And then you look how Ronnie trained, right?
Yeah. Right.
Some crazy sessions. I'm sure you were mirroring those yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It is
Life
what
or
it is.
death. It's life or death.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you, Aaron. Of course, it's a pleasure to talk with you again, and I appreciate that you're open, honest, and transparent with everything. So it carries, it helps, it does help our community and the listeners to understand more from a actual, someone that's being an open book.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Got it. May as well use your experiences to give some light to others, whether they're going to listen or not. I
no.
already know you might not listen, but that's okay. You
I
have your own journey to talk about someday, right?
You'll
Yeah.
be sitting there one day like us. I'm 36, you're 37. Maybe you'll be reflecting like we do.
Yep. Yeah. Think back like, man, that guy, that thing he said, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was right. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Aaron.
Anytime. I
Speak
appreciate
to
it.
you soon.